iZombie Season 2, Episode 10, Method Head. I think this was actually a pretty great episode to come back on. What the heck? I don't know what they're doing upstairs. They've been moving around like crazy. Um, it's weird that we aren't getting another episode until February 2nd. I thought that was really weird because it was like nothing's happening. Like next week we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but that's not like a Christmas holiday where people like, oh, everyone, get together for meals and no one watches TV. That's like the perfect day to have a TV show on. Although that's Monday and not Tuesday. I don't know why that even occurred to me. But it's weird that we're not going to get another episode for, I think, 2 more weeks, or I guess 3 weeks. So I don't know why we even had this episode, to be totally honest. I guess they just had a weird schedule thing happening, but either way, I enjoyed this episode. It sucks that it was such a good episode because then it's like, crap, now we're waiting, 2.5 weeks for another episode when they ended on so many kind of great things happening. Because in this episode, by the end, it's like, okay, we finally have Clive figuring out where Blaine is. We have Major, who was very up and down in this episode. Me and my girlfriend were watching and we were like, what is happening right now? Because at first it's like, oh, it seemed like he was playing them, of course, in the beginning. It's like, oh, I'm just doing my job and this and that. It's like, well, we know he's putting people in the freezers and not killing them, so easy to fake that, no big deal. And then he gets the information and he turns it in, and then they have it where, he and the guy go down to the scientist and stuff, and it's like, okay, maybe they had a plan. Like, that was what my girlfriend mentioned. It was like, okay, maybe he had a plan. They, set up a plan to work with each other. And that way they could get all the information out. And then when, I can't remember that guy's name whatsoever, but obviously the head of Max Rager, when he lets the scientist free, and, it's like, oh, so, this was all a test, and Major's acting like he had no idea. It was like, is he kind of a dick right now? Like, we didn't know what was happening. It was like, he seems like a bad guy. Like, he's really doing that. I was like, okay, it's like one of two things. Either they made a plan, or he flat out knew he was being tested. And when he, just the way it all played out, I was like, he was still going to let that guy die. Like, even if he figured he was being tested, it was like, crap, he was going to let that guy, get eaten. But then, we get the end of the episode and it's like, nope, he knew the entire time exactly what was going to happen. And he still didn't know it was going to be that crazy, but he knew that, he was being tested. So I was like, that was really cool how they did that, because he was acting like he really did know that the scientist was just a part of a nice big test. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, I just love the way they played that. And now he's spying on them. He's getting more information. I like to think that him having a mic, on the guy all the time could be actual information. I mean, they kind of proposed the idea in this episode as a test for Major, but considering he has like a little wristband microphone that he can spy on these people with now, I feel like he could somehow, just transfer that in a file and be like, boom, here's all of, here's hours upon hours of this guy talking about zombies and killing people and this and that. And he might not do that anyway just because of all the crazy zombie stuff, but he's kind of got something. He'd have to, because, he's got all these, all this time. So I love the way that they played that. That was a very great ending for his story. Now he's got, one up on them, which I guess he's got 2, because he was already killing, or, not actually killing people off anymore, but he still fakes it like he's being watched. I think I mentioned that before in the first episode. They revealed that, where he still went to the bridge and everything. He shot the body and, dumps it, or dumps whatever random thing in the water. And then it turns out he's freezing the body. So he was even keeping up with that when he first started. Like, just in case I'm being watched, I'm going to continue to come to this same place and do the same thing the same way I've been doing it. So it's like now he's got 2 on him, because now he's, got the whole spy thing going. And it was really cool. I don't know where this is going to take him. Because he's still doing his own thing, because of course no one else knows that he's the one killing everyone off. And considering what they're going to do with Blaine, I think we're still going to get that connection where, Clive does find out that Major was definitely involved with the massacre, and they're gonna have to be iffy. They're gonna have to play it in a really weird way. It's like either they talk about the zombies, or Major would have to like go to jail, or they totally figure something else out. Like I just don't know how they're gonna try to play it, but I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm looking forward to however they decided to do it. But Major had his thing. Clive figured out where Blaine was. Blaine doesn't like to go down easily, so he's either going to fight back, which I'm sure he will, or he is going to try to take Major down with him because he's the one who actually, killed everyone off. So I just don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm really looking forward to it. And then, of course, we have Stacy Boss. They kind of mentioned him in this episode. He's got more indictments and stuff against him. So they kind of throw that out there that he is being attacked a bit. And then we, of course, have Max Rager, and they're going to defend Major no matter what. I mean, all they can really say is like, oh, well, he's, our guy who helps people train or whatever. But I'm sure they could doctor some footage or whatever and be like, look at this timestamp, and it's like, this is what we were doing from here to here. And it's like, we protect our own or something like that. So I feel like where they ended stuff, mostly with the Clive storyline, that can lead to, there's so many possibilities of how that can basically connect everyone together officially, with all all the storylines kind of converging and just exploding all at once. Like Max Rager has to get involved to help Major because he's their zombie killer, and Blaine, of course, may or may not get busted for everything that's going on with both the zombies and the Utopium. Stacy Boss might go after him because he'll know that he's the one with the Utopium. And then, of course, just the FBI case in general, which, of course, is Major, once again tying back to Max Rager. Blaine is not going to take the fall for that crap no matter what, because he didn't do it, and even if he did, he's going to lie his ass off. So whatever happens, I feel like they have so many great possibilities for where they can take the characters with the way that they ended it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Blaine and Major finding out that they're going to turn into zombies eventually, also really cool because it kind of puts them into a new mindset. Like, crap, things are happening, and who knows really exactly what's going to be happening. So they don't know when they're going to turn back. They need to find more of the Utopium, so of course Major goes out with Ravi and they're trying to look for everything. And it's just really good. It was like they spent all this time searching. I also don't know, like they were searching with metal detectors. I was like, I don't know what they expect to find with metal detectors, but my girlfriend mentioned, like, I guess keys in their pocket. That was the only thing we could really think of, was keys in their pocket. I guess belts. I mean, some crazy random happenstance they both have steel toe boots or some crazy something like that. But I thought it was weird. I was like, they're using like metal detectors. That's not going to help too much. But I guess every minor thing, eventually they're going to find it. I'm sure. I don't know if that'll be like the finale, or maybe it'll be too late or something. Like Robbie mentioned, he has to do more tests to see exactly what can be done. So we kind of have to wait for that. But I'm really excited that they both know now, so that's going to kind of change them mentally. Like, we're going to be reverted back. Of course, Major never wanted to be a zombie. He hated it from the beginning. And Blaine doesn't want to go back to being a zombie because he actually enjoys, being human again. He doesn't want to lose, all those senses and, like, taste and smell and this and that. So he's kind of reverted, and he's enjoying being human again. So he doesn't want to go back either. So it's pretty interesting how they're kind of parallel at this point. Neither of them want to go, turn into zombies. So I don't know. I'm really looking forward to what they do with them. The main case was pretty good. I think it was nice the way that they did it, where it was like Clive and Liv weren't exactly partners too much in the very beginning. Personally, I would have liked seeing that a little more. I would have liked to have seen that at least for one full episode where Clive didn't really let Liv help on the mission. Like, she was helping out, but even if it was like it was during, I believe, the Christmas section and even the New Year's section, when she would give him a note or something and then he'd go back and he'd still do everything by himself, I personally would have liked that. I think that would have been cool to see. And ultimately, it kind of went back to formula really, really fast. Like, we got a hint of it in the beginning, but then it kind of like basically the rest of the episode, he was like, okay, you can help out on this mission because, you know so much about this show. And he kind of went back to formula for those two pretty much the whole episode. And then by the very end, he made it official, but they were working together the whole time anyway. So I would have liked to have seen that extended a little bit, but depending on where things go, we might definitely see that happen for a much longer time because he might actually find out about the zombie stuff fairly soon. And I figured it would be this season because of how everything's playing out, and his current girlfriend is looking into all these disappearances, which of course Major's involved in, and especially now that he knows where Blaine is, there's just a lot of different stuff. Like, I figured he'd find out eventually, which they make a joke about, or they don't even make a joke about it, but he mentions it. He doesn't really like zombies. He's just a little freaked out by them in general. So, I'm not sure how that's going to be playing out, but I thought that was very interesting. Like, okay, he kind of freaks out a little bit by zombies, and these were two guys in makeup, and it freaked him out a little bit, so I thought that was interesting. They also made a really funny joke about this show where it was like, where the guy was like, you know what they should do is have a zombie show where the main character is a zombie, and he was like, that's dumb. I really liked that joke because that was really funny. My girlfriend thought that they might be making fun of the Vampire Diaries initially because it was like, zombie high school is, vampires and zombies, basically just all eating people, just smarter, generally way more attractive when they're vampires as well, just automatic, I guess. But I didn't see that. I mean, I could definitely see it because probably the first 3 or 4 seasons, they were still in high school. So I guess I could kind of see, where it was. Definitely loved the over-the-top dramatic acting that they had for the characters inside of the Zombie High series. That I really loved because that was just funny. Like, it was funny when they did the first scene, and it was just like, just the way they were talking to each other, it was meant to be just over the top and dramatic. But when they were reading the lines, and the guy, like, looked down, and then he looked up with, like, just the angry look in his face, like, okay. And it was just like, it was just so over the top, and really, it was just really funny, and I really liked the way that they did that. So, that was just, as usual, very funny. Liv being on the actor brain, I feel like that wasn't actually as much of an effect as it has been in a lot of episodes. We've seen it do a lot more in pretty much every other episode. I think this one was actually fairly calm. She was more herself on this brain, on both brains really, because even when she was on the Santa brain in the beginning, they kind of had a little bit done with that, and they actually show her what she looks like when she has a vision, which I thought was pretty interesting because I kind of just realized that I don't think we've ever seen that before. We may have seen it in the episode where they had no visions shown, but I don't think they did it in that one either. I don't think they showed her whatsoever, even remotely having visions. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. Like, it was interesting that that was kind of the way they did it. She of course had her couple of visions. I think she only had like maybe 2 or 3. Like, she really didn't have that many either. So that was interesting too. Just the amount, or kind of lack of amount of visions in this one. But it was pretty cool. I still like, some of the moments where she was the actor were definitely funny and just as over the top as every other part when they were on the set. So I certainly loved that. But it was interesting. She didn't seem to be overtly affected like she had been on pretty much every other brand. Like, just really the scene where she did it the most was the very end when she and Clive were working together to trick the guy into confessing, and the part where she was reading the lines. And then I think the only other part really was when she was first affected and she was talking with Ravi, this is how people act, and she's eating the apple and stuff, and he has the giant thing of popcorn and stuff. But I thought it was pretty cool. It was funny the few moments they did it, but it definitely didn't affect her too much. And overall, I think it was just a really fun episode. Like, the story itself, as usual, the stories are really fun. This was definitely funnier than some of the other ones we've had, because there's just because it was like her fangirling about loving the show and everything, and then just the over-the-top acting with all the characters is really funny. But then, outside of the main case, I feel like everything else was like super, super serious, because it was Major with his whole spy thing and trying to figure out, do they have a plan? Is he just going to let this guy die? And all that happening. And then the very end with Blaine, even his storyline throughout the whole episode is like, okay, well, he's talking about people disappearing. They talk about his bodyguard who may have scratched um, one of his client's bodyguards and possibly turn that person into a zombie, and him realizing the stuff about the cure. So every, the three storylines we have, there's like one with comedy, and then the other two are fairly serious. They have their jokes mostly through Blaine, and in Majors, the boss, he is really funny. Like him and that robot, that was a cool robot. When I first saw that, I was like, that's pretty sweet. And I was kind of dancing like he was. I was like, that's a pretty sweet little robot. But it was really good. Like I really enjoyed this episode. It does suck that we have to wait so long because I really want to see where they're going. Because I can't wait to see what happens when Clive runs into Blaine. I don't really know what to think about that because there's so many ways it could go wrong. I know neither of them are gonna die, but and I highly doubt Clive's girlfriend's gonna die either. But it's just like I don't know where it's gonna lead to because it can lead to so many possibilities of Blaine getting caught as the informant, them figuring out about Major as a part of the whole meet cute thing, and zombies in general. So there's just a lot of possibilities, but it'll be interesting to see how quickly they kind of dole out, the big moments and stuff like that. But I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know what you guys think is going to happen when Clive runs into Blaine. Like I said, there's so many possibilities how that could go right or wrong. Most likely it'll go wrong because it's television and things have to be crazy and dramatic. But there are just a lot of different ways that it could really come back on these characters and just wipe out so many good things. Although there's not much good really happening. I mean, they just found out they're turning, two people who are human found out they're turning back into zombies. One of the guys is freezing a bunch of zombies and trying to make sure he doesn't ever get caught by his boss because he would definitely disappear. And now he's spying on them, which maybe the whole point of that is so that he can get information, but I don't know. Like, there's still so much, just a lot of weird stuff he has to deal with, even with spying on them. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but a lot of possibilities, and I would love to know your speculations for what will happen. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.